just noticed that my mic was muted, but what we said was good evening and welcome to the first of many Mindset Mondays. All you can do is laugh about it, right? It's not necessarily what happens to you, it's how you react, which is exactly what we're here to talk about today. My name is Kimberly Stevens, broker owner of Remax 5-Star Realty, and I am joined by Miss Tanya Kalijian here, who just happens to be the reason why I am in real estate, and my best friend. We have known each other since middle school, and I tell you what, whenever I wrote the description and thinking about Mindset Mondays, it says, life throws you curveballs, right? And how to take that negativity and turn it into a positive spin. And I tell you what, whenever it comes to life throwing you curveballs, this girl's going to knock it out of the park every single time, because I just don't think there's a negative bone in her body.
Well, and like we were saying, you are the captain of your own ship, and sometimes it is your own mind that's negative, that you have to change your own mind. So a lot of the things that we've learned along our path, me 17.3 years and Kim 14.
I was 14.
14 years in real estate. You've got your ups and you've got your downs. And sometimes you just need to rub elbows with a person that can stay up through all the madness, who's also been through lows and knows how to deal with that too. So we've been through a lot of ups and downs. We grind it out every day. And sometimes we know when we need to take off too. There's just so many things that factor into being your best. And I can't wait to talk about a lot of that.
And one of the things that I will say is that, while we have a lot of friends, associates, friends online who are realtors, brokers, maybe thinking about getting into the business, or that's what, your past life was being in real estate. This is not necessarily a real estate podcast. It is Mindset Monday.
Yeah.
And, bad things happen if you're in a fast-paced industry, or if you are, even stay-at-home moms. Like we deal with a lot, and it's how you're able to take negativity and turn it into, something positive, and really just making sure that you are in the right mindset, because it affects us, spiritually, mentally, like physically. Our health is all related to our mindset.
Yeah, and the way that we are and what we believe, and that affects how we affect other people. So we want to be a positive influence. We want to be inspiring. We want to be uplifting. We want to be, encouraging, whether you're looking for a job, you are an agent, whatever the case may be. Like Kim said, this is something that everyone needs to talk about sometimes. We obviously have each other. We've been best friends for I don't know how long. And thank God for that. And everyone should have that person.
Yes.
That you can call and say, hey, I'm having a crap Monday. Like, let's laugh or do something, or just, I don't know. I just need to talk. And that's important too.
But it's so important having that person. Like I made the post the other day that everybody should have that person in their life, that no matter what is going on, you can pick up the phone, you can, have an impromptu, coffee or lunch or whatever, and get some really hysterical laughs. And I think in my post, I said, you should have the person that, makes you laugh so hard to pee a little, because that's important.
And if you don't have that person, just save this video and rewatch it, because I'm sure we'll make you laugh at some point.
So talking about mindset and mindset itself, it is directly related to your core beliefs and your values. So you have to ask yourself, like, if you're feeling down, down on yourself, you've been going through a hard time, or you're having a bad day, or, you're just not meeting the goals that you had set out to meet. What do you truly believe about yourself, about, other people, and, what are your values, and having a strong sense of your values, because that is ultimately going to design your environment and who you let around you, and your environment, it affects you. Right?
Yes, absolutely. And, birds of a feather flock together. And sometimes if you realize, like, hey, this person isn't where I want to be going, or isn't thinking the way I like too much negativity, then you've also got to learn how to protect your environment, and as one of your things is put the gas mask on yourself first, and that comes in a lot of different areas. It's not just your own thoughts and your own beliefs, which is really the key, because then you're attracting things that line up with your thoughts.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is. It's that spirit of attraction. And some people might think like, oh, it's okay. I really like this person. They're a good person, or they're, their family, or they're maybe a coworker, and that you can deal with it. But our environment, regardless, like it impacts us. It affects us. So you really want to be mindful of those people that you are spending the majority of your time with, in the environment that you're in, because it does, have a lot to do with, how we feel, and it's contagious. I mean, if you're negative all of the time, and that's what you're talking, about somebody else, it's going to make them, have more of a negative mindset. And likewise, if you're around somebody that's always looking at the worst of things and bad, situations, and that's all they do, like it changes your mindset.
Yeah, to me, it's like nails on a chalkboard. But then there's a lot of times where I need to listen to someone to understand, especially like friends or clients, people that I know this isn't them. And sometimes the best reward is just turning someone's day around, putting a smile on someone else's face. Sometimes, the giver is the real receiver. It's like that is the best gift, is to lift someone else up. And
or have them see the positive out of it that maybe they can't see yet.
Yeah, no matter the weather, bring your own sunshine, and so you always got to be prepared for that. I mean, especially and I'm probably speaking mostly to real estate agents, but you get a hard knock or a rejection or something like that, and it's like the next call could be $1 million buyer, and you've got to be able to bounce right back every time. And that comes from within. The word enthusiasm is literally, the meaning is the God within. And so it's like finding that enthusiasm over and over and over. And that comes from a place of joy that you have to carry inside of you by loving yourself, but doing what makes you happy and what is achieving your goals. And one of the things, is not to compare, because there's always
comparison
someone better.
Is the thief of joy, right?
Thief. Literally. And I think we're all guilty of this. It's funny because my husband's a little bit older than me. He's however old, whatever. But I would always be like, oh, I can't believe this other team got this award, or blah, 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 so-and-so beat me. And he's like, why do you care, about them? You should just be worrying about doing your best every day. And whatever that is, you need to find out where you're happy. Do you need to make $1 million to be happy? Like, I'm pretty cool with a good 400. Like, if it's not, there was a whole class at Remax. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. And so it's like, we always have to be figuring out where we're happy at when it comes to committing to clients and committing to everything, really, because if you drain yourself too much, you won't have that joy within.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So in talking about, a mindset and, like taking something that negative, like negative things happen, bad things happen to people. And it's more of like how you react to it, and trying to, really hone in on what you believe about yourself, and a way to, internalize and change what you believe about yourself. And one of those things that we were talking about is with affirmations. And Tanya has known about affirmations far longer than I have, but I don't think it's really out there where it's just common knowledge what affirmations are or how they can help. I know it wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. I had heard about them, like, and there's cute little videos that go around, and you see them in movies, like, haha. But I was that person that it just felt awkward and unnatural to me. So whenever I read the Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, that was one of the things that was in it, and it was talking about that self-care, that level of self-care that you have to put in first whenever you start your day, which impacts your entire day and how it goes. And there's like a lot of, science behind why affirmations work.
I'll tell you the truth, and I will the entire time and forever, because that's just what I am. But I start every day off with affirmations. It's kind of like brushing your teeth. And me and my husband have a ton of jokes about like all the things we're supposed to do every day. Drink enough water, dry brushing, putting your feet on the ground. There's just so many things. But affirmations is one of those things, or are one of those things that we absolutely have to do. It has to be made a part of your routine. And I have mine printed out, sitting right next to my flat screen, and I come in and I sit in my office quietly and I make a little space and I make a little time to say my affirmations. And I just don't know how else you can start your day if you don't start there. I get my coffee. I do get my coffee. I do brush my teeth. There's certain things, but that is in the top first things I do.
For those of you who aren't familiar with affirmations, they are, positive thoughts that you say out loud to yourself. And if you don't believe that about yourself, it's one of the ways that you can start believing about yourself, because there are scientific studies, there are brain studies that show that, affirmations work because they hit like a certain part of your brain that deals with, the positivity, and it reduces negativity, and it reduces lingering on negative thoughts, longer. So affirmations are like, I am good enough. I am successful. I am, whatever it is to
my favorite affirmation. I love my life more every day. And literally, I feel like I love my life more every day. And if you say that every day, it's like, it's going to get better every day. That is one of my first affirmations. And it's things like that. You can decide what you say, but you're trying to really convince your brain you're a creature of habit. We're like a computer, our brains. So what's deep down in there, you might have been taught from someone else. Maybe you didn't like that. Maybe your parent didn't go as far in life as you want to go. It's okay to break through those glass ceilings and believe something that you haven't believed before, that you don't have any evidence of being real. You make it real with your own beliefs and you commit to it. It's just amazing. I mean, it really is life-changing, and I can't imagine life without doing my affirmations every day.
One of the things that I hear from time to time, because people know that I've, gone through, hard things that have happened in my life, is, that they can't believe, how I'm always so positive, but there's, really no secret behind it. I mean, I'm not always happy.
Yeah.
It's, there are times that, I am affected and I reach out to you. I just try not to stay in that space. And one of the things that, that help with that are habits, like you were talking about, waking up in the morning and having those certain things that you do, like wake up and brush your teeth. It doesn't have to be a hard habit, but those good habits that we input in our lives that will impact, us and, ultimately others in a positive way. And one of those are, like waking up, brushing your teeth, saying your affirmations, but having good habits in your life.
Absolutely. We're a creature of habit. You're either going to have good habits or you're going to have bad habits. You have habits.
Everybody has habits. But
so you can
either
decide,
good or bad.
Yes, what they are, and make your life more of what you want it to be, one piece at a time. And affirmations absolutely has to be in there, because that your brain believes you more than any other voice. I think it's like 1,000 or 10,000 times more. I know that's a large.
We don't have the actual statistics, though.
Do not quote that statistic. But when you say it out of your own mouth, and it's biblical, the Bible says the life and death is in the power of the tongue. So you are dictating what you're calling it. I mean, you're speaking it. God made us in his image. We're very powerful. And if we don't say these positive things, what are we saying? Nothing? Yeah. Well, then maybe nothing happens.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, the mind is such a powerful thing. You can think yourself sad. You can think yourself happy. You can think yourself, sick. Or you can think yourself healthy. Like, what you think you ultimately are, because that's how powerful the brain is.
Mm-hmm.
I know that whenever I started, my physical journey that I thought was starting with physical fitness, I wanted to be healthier. So I was like, okay, I need to start working out. Like, here's what I want as a goal. Here's what's going to bring me that result. That was how it started. But what it ended up being was so much more than that, because as I dug in, I started realizing that, little changes that I was making, like listening to great, podcasts and reading versus listening to music, made a huge impact, on me. And like whenever I was running, there were several times with, my bad knees and my bad, hips, that I was running and I wanted to give up. I wanted to stop because.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
She was literally bone on bone. Like for her to run was like most people wouldn't even walk. So
I
have to give some props there.
Technically call it a run.
I don't know.
It was a janky run, but yeah, but there were times where whenever I started, it was okay. I want to get healthy. This is what people do to get healthy, and where I had to start was just start. And for me, knowing that I couldn't really run, it was walking first. And then maybe, running from a small point to another small point, like from one mailbox to the next mailbox, or from, I couldn't even do like a half a mile at first. And, whenever I was hurting the most, the thing that got me through it is whenever I started listening to, a podcast or
getting your mind off of it and onto something
on
positive.
Mindset. So I had in that post, that I did, I was talking about, books that impacted me. One of them was Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And in that, he talks about like just how powerful the mind is. So in those moments when I literally felt like I was going to fall on the ground and could not walk anymore because my, my knees were broken and my hip hurt and I, wanted to
cry.
I definitely wanted to cry or call somebody to pick me up. Just being able to say out loud and to myself that, the mind is a powerful thing, that it's stronger than my body, that I can push through, eyes forward, like you got to get home. And another thing that I personally did is where I live, there's a track right in front of my house at the beautiful Dow Park. For those of you who aren't familiar with my area, it's just a round track. So it's very easy for me then when I started to say, you know what, I'm hurting, like this isn't right for me, I need to go home. And that's what I did a lot of times is I'd be like on that other half mile mark and I'd start hurting and I would just quit and walk home. So then I was just like, you know what, I'm giving myself an out. Instead, I was like, I'm going to run far away from my house and not on a track. And yeah, then you're stuck. You have to run back and you have to, push through.
And that's a great point. And a way to break through your walls is not to give yourself sometimes the out.
Giving yourself an out, yeah.
Don't give yourself the out. Give yourself the opportunity to achieve your goal, because sometimes I think we just give up. Maybe it's like you get hung up on, this is real estate related, and you're like, okay, I'm just not making any more calls, when really you have to learn how to bounce back and keep going, so it's weird how real estate can be. It's like sometimes you just have to keep pushing forward. And so one of the things you asked me, and I'm probably cutting to the end, but I really don't care, is what is your favorite book? And I really thought long and hard on this while I was here, and it was the Rhinoceros of Success. It's so old school. It's so simple. And I was like, why do I love this book so much? What was it about this book that besides, the rhinoceros and like never giving up, going all in? And that was the thing. If you Google this book, it is a book about going all in or not going in at all. And so that's, I think, what a lot of people do, though. It's the new year. They'll be like, I'm going to do all these millions of things. And they make no plan, like in the morning. Like, I'm going to say affirmations. Oh, really? What affirmations are you going to say? Where are they at? Like, you have to really plan for success. If you believe you're going to succeed, then you have to really plan for it. And then you just got to go pull out all the stops, all balls to the wall or nothing at all, like go all in.
Yeah.
And so
in my last monthly office meeting, that's one of the things that I actually talked about, was it being the new year and how a lot of people have these New Year's resolutions. It's new year. It's full of hope. It's full of like all of these possibilities. It's the future.
Yeah.
And then, like most New Year's resolutions fail. right? But, you know, why?
Because we're creatures of habit.
We are
and they
creatures
didn't
of habit.
make a plan.
Exactly.
Plan to
It's
fail.
Planning.
What is the saying?
Failing to plan is planning to fail.
Thank you. Boom.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the part of it. So I think that, you know, if it's not too late to make a resolution, you don't need a new year to make a resolution and to decide, you know, what you want to change about yourself, about your health, your mindset, whatever it is. But you do have to have a plan for it. And I think that where most people fail is saying, okay, well, I probably wanted this last year or the year before, and taking a deep dive into thinking about why didn't you succeed before? What excuses held you from doing that? And really game planning, you know, around that on, okay, well, what can I do differently? I didn't do it this time, but this is what was holding me back. Maybe it was a mental heckler saying like, I can't do this because, and how you can like, you know, change that.
Your own self.
And, yeah.
Because sometimes we're our own worst enemy. You know, we don't believe in ourselves, but we set ourselves up for failure by not planning to. So like, for example, the affirmation thing, I have it right there. I do it sometimes. If I'm having a bad day, I'll do it again. Because it's like, hold on, wait a minute. I don't love this day more than yesterday. Like, my life is getting better every day. I love my life more every day. What's happening? And I will say it again. And I will say it again because I know how powerful my own mind is. And that I am the captain of my own ship. And if I'm allowing myself to veer off into negative land, like that can go pretty far. I got to correct it back immediately because faith and fear cannot exist at the same time. I know that. I believe that. I just know it. And so sometimes we have to say, stop, pause button. Let's get this back where we need to be going. Or let's take a break. You know, I mean, sometimes the law of diminishing returns, where you're putting in, you're just determined that you're going to make $50,000 this month, you know, and sometimes maybe it's next month that you'll make 80 because of all the work you did. Like sometimes you can't beat yourself so bad that you have the joy is gone. Because if you don't have the joy inside, that enthusiasm, that God within, literally the definition of enthusiasm, then who are you really going to inspire? You know, some of these buyers and sellers, they need someone like us that knows they can do it, that believes in them because their own mind has prevented them so many times before. You know, you might be the 9th realtor that they've talked to, but you might be the first one that really says something positive to them because you're having a good day because you said your affirmations and you're damn determined that you're going to have a good day today. And they've never run into anyone like you because there's so many people that have bought into negativity and sadness and, oh, this world sucks and everything else, when you don't have to believe that. That's not the truth at all. That's what they want you to believe. But you get to decide what you believe and how that makes you feel. And, you know, sometimes people just need a little shot of you.
Well, I mean, I think that that's, you know, an important point is that, you know, whenever things happen, whether it's a narrative that you're hearing, that you're reading, or something that happens to you, being able to kind of mentally pause and take it in before you react or have that, you know, negative reaction, whether it's towards others or towards yourself. And that's a skill set. So that's something that you actively have to work on. And they say like with building habits, I mean, you're having to do it for, you know, it's like 60, 90 days before it truly becomes a habit. But that is a skill set that I think that we should all, you know, try to sharpen, is that ability to, whenever something, you know, bad or negative impacts us, like having a mental pause before, you know, we react, because maybe we heard it the wrong way. Maybe it's, you know, just not going to affect us in the long run, which is one of the things that I brought with me today. My favorite book. So in my post, I talked about Can't Hurt Me, because that really pushed me through, you know, that physical journey, which became like a mental mindset thing that helped me in so many different ways. My other favorite book is this one right here. And it is by Mark Manson, and it is so good, but it's
not to be confused with Marilyn Manson.
No. Mark Manson, and it's the subtle art of not giving a, you know,
flippity flop.
And it's not about not caring about anything.
Right.
It's about being mindful and choosing what you care about. Like the person, in front of you in a car, in traffic or no traffic, and it's just like sitting there. If you get so upset like at this person that it physically like and mentally changes you, like you have to stop and think about it. Like, is this going to impact you like an hour from now? Probably not. So why are you caring so much about it? And that's like the simple part of putting it. But there are things that happen in our lives that, we're just like, oh my gosh, why did this happen to me? How could it happen to me? Sometimes even, taking on like that victim, mentality, but, trying to kind of repurpose it in our mind where we're like, okay, how is this like what just happened to me and how I'm going to react to it? How is it going to affect me 5 years, 10 years? If 5 years from now, what just happened isn't going to matter, why would you care that much that you let it rob your mental joy or you let it ruin your day? And then, your mindset is so contagious that maybe you're ruining other people's day without even, realizing it because you're just full of that negative from what just happened.
You only have so many F's to give. You want to call them flip-flops, call them whatever you want, but you only have so many F's to give, and you just can't go around wasting them. And that's what this book is about. That's why I love that book, and I think everyone should read it.
It's a good one.
It is, because it talks a lot about social media. We waste, and I'm guilty of it. I know everyone is, I think.
There's a lot of people that are.
Especially all the stuff I buy. I'm like, man, this is one of the habits I need to break. But you only have so many F's to give. Like, what's most important to you? That comes back to what we talked about with making a list of like the things. If you don't write it down, like it's gone into the wind. Like you've got to start somewhere.
So I know, like whenever I picked this book up, I picked it up because of the title. I mean, I thought that I was just like, oh, like it just intrigued me. So I did, but I think that the book found me because at that time I was going through, again, like just a really hard time for me. And, I was really down on myself. There was a lot of self-doubt that was like, creeping in, and it affected me. Like it affected my habits. It affected my routines. It affected, my outlook on business, on life, and ultimately, others, because it's contagious, right?
Yeah.
And reading the book, it really helped me kind of put a grasp on things like what I was internalizing and what I actually, cared about, and what I wasn't allowing to steal my, my inner joy.
It's kind of like pruning your tree. Trees, the limbs get really heavy, and that's what happens to us in life. We're letting all these things that shouldn't matter. And you read this book and you realize, oh my gosh, I can just cut this crap off, and your tree just perks right up. You're like, oh my gosh, I only have to care about what I really want to care about. This is great. It's such a freeing book. And it technically says the counterintuitive approach to success. Like, you wouldn't think this is what you're supposed to do. We think we should be burdened by all this stuff that doesn't matter to us, but we don't have to be burdened by all that stuff.
I would just read like one passage for you guys. It says that the book will help you think a little bit more clearly about what you're choosing to find important in life and what you're choosing to find unimportant. That I believe in today we're facing a psychological epidemic on people that no longer realize that it's okay for things to suck sometimes. It's okay.
Yeah.
Bad things happen. And it says that I know that sounds like intellectually lazy on the surface, but I promise you it's life or death, sort of issue. Because when we believe that it's not okay for things to suck sometimes, then we unconsciously start blaming ourselves. And it goes on and it says a lot more things. Like, this is one book, like, so I started reading, listening to audios, like when I was in my car and working out, like replacing it with music. But then there are books that like that I've read a couple times because I like to highlight it. I have my pages, pinned in it. And this was a really good one for us. We both read it. And then, also that the one that we talked about, the miracle morning.
Oh yeah.
Again, like with habits. And on the surface,
Do you
I think
still wake up at 5 a.m.?
Well, I think that on the surface, like a lot of people think that that's the, okay, well, I'm not going to wake up at 5 a.m. Right.
That's why I'm a realtor. I hate waking up that early. So we can dictate our whole lives, right? By writing it down. Like, what is your plan? So I love that I can still do miracle morning at 8 a.m. Like, who's telling me I can't?
So for you guys that aren't familiar with Hal Elrod or Miracle Morning, and there are several different versions of the book, it's not about necessarily waking up early. It's maybe your belief is that you can't go to the gym, or you haven't gone to the gym because you don't have time. There's not enough time in the day. Well, God gave us 24 hours in the day, and we're not getting any more of it, and we're not getting any less of it. So it's about what you do with that day. So the premise is that, okay, well, if you did wake up 1 hour earlier, then you would have time to do X, Y, and Z. And it's also talking about the importance of having those really good habits and taking care of yourself first. And that's what brought me to, you'd already referenced the quote, like one of my favorite quotes, with Buffini, is that you've got to put the oxygen mask on first. Whenever you're on a plane and they're giving you the instructions and they're telling you, like all of where the exit rows are and stuff, they tell you that you have to put your oxygen mask on, first before you can help others. Because if you're oxygen depleted, like you're not going to be able to help anybody.
Yeah.
And with that said, like, you have to have a routine where you take care of yourself first. Put the good in first. Like, read a positive passage, and in that it talks about their savers. And one of them is about reading, and it's not necessarily saying like, okay, well, read a whole book or read 100 pages. Read a couple paragraphs. Read whatever you can make work. But just another thing that's just positive energy going in, taking the time to do your affirmations, to sit in silence, to be with yourself, and create your own positive energy before you go out into your day. Because if you do not have a plan and you do not have habits, or maybe you have bad habits, because everybody has habits, whether they're good or they're bad, right? Like, so if you don't have good ones, they're bad. You're waking up and you're letting the day control you.
Well, people a lot of times, and I've been guilty of this until I've decided I'm doing these affirmations first thing. And what the book talks about is the first 15 minutes of your day, how important it is. And so many people that do this that are super successful, he talks about, but it's like that 15 minutes you can never get back, even if it's just meditating, sitting silently and clearing your mind. But don't pick up your phone and start reading news about, someone shot someone's dog and, all these things that the world just will take your joy out. And it's like, what joy do you have left to give? If giving is the best gift, right? The giver is the receiver. It's like, if you don't have that joy to put a smile on someone else's face, or in the real estate world, be inspirational to them about selling and buying, because sometimes it's work and they just don't think they can do it, but they know when they meet you and you're upbeat and you believe in them, then all of a sudden they can do it. And it's like, when was the best time to buy a house? People ask me this. I'm sure they've asked you too. 30 years ago. Like, that was the best time. Sorry that you missed that boat. Like, but let's start here. Let's start now. And we sometimes have to have that joy of what we do, and it can be easily lost because there's plenty of things that aren't fun, but we gotta always be there for those people that need us.
Yeah, I know, exactly. And what I see are a lot of people that are, they are down on themselves because they think it's just them, right? Like, I haven't made enough sales. I haven't had enough, transactions. I haven't, whatever it is, for even people that are not in real estate, and just thinking that you're not good. And last year was kind of
Jared Jones would tell them. What? You haven't been told no enough. That means you haven't made enough calls. You haven't gotten in front of enough people. And people take the rejection as like they can't handle it. If you can't handle rejection, like, don't let the door hit you in the. No one's above it.
It does. It happens.
It does.
And we get rejection not only in real estate, but in life. And again, it's how you let it impact you. And the whole point goes back to your beliefs, what you believe about yourself, and focusing on the positive and the good, because 20 things can happen to you at any given moment, and one of them be bad, and you let that be your focus. But when you focus on the positive things and put that negative to the back end, it improves your mood. It's directly related to your health, so it's not easy to stay positive, and that's not what we're saying. We are like genuinely positive and happy people. That's what we are. But is it because everything is great in our lives all the time, and we never deal with rejection, and we never have a hard day? Like, absolutely not. It's just, those things that we have managed to put in place to help us navigate, to pull ourselves back up, or lean on, somebody to help get us in those, positive mind frames.
Yeah, you've got to have that person. You've got to have that friend, whether it's your spouse, or in my case, I have my spouse that I talk to all the time. I have you that I talk to all the time. And, I can laugh with y'all. I can tell y'all things, I can make jokes. And I have to bring up one thing that was a psychological test. That's a pretty quick story. But there was a psychologist class, and he was the teacher, and he said, I want you to write something about this piece of paper. Okay, and I want you to look at this. It's got a little black dot on there. And everybody wrote about the black dot. This black dot, it's circular, it's in the center. Well, when the professor got all the papers, he said, everybody wrote about the black dot. You forgot to write about the whole white sheet of paper. And that's our life. There's so much good constantly happening that we can make happen. We are writing our own story, really. We have all this space to write our own story. With this one little space where something crappy happened, like, forget about that space. Like, get some white out. That's what I would do. But I mean, it's like we have to focus on the whole sheet of paper and not the one little bad thing that happens and let it ruin us. Like, yeah, I don't know how else to say that. I thought that was amazing because that professor.
But again, it does. It goes back to what you focus on, right? So if you are having a bad day, or really down on yourself, just think about what you have in your life to be thankful for. What good things have happened in your life? What good things do you want to happen in your life, and what do you have control over to make that happen? And I know that a lot of this might sound cheesy or rhetorical, but it's not some secret that people withhold. It really does go back to having positive and good habits, and really being aware of your mindset and how it affects not only you and your mood, but it affects your day. It affects your environment. It affects everybody that you say. It affects you see. It affects your work and so many different parts of our life. So you have to choose to
be grateful,
focus on the good, and maybe start off each day
grateful
with
heart
saying thankful.
Gives you more reasons to be grateful, right? Your emotions, your feelings attract more of the same. So when you're grateful, you're going to have more and more to be grateful about. And that is one of the things when I meditate, I try to think about what am I grateful for, and think about that, because that is what you've got to feel when you let negativity take over, or sadness or depression. Believe me, there's sometimes you just need to go, possibly get bailed out of jail. I don't know. But there's other times, especially, in life in general, that you can't do that. Obviously, we know, we've all done it, gotten drunk, you wake up, the problem's still there. Okay, the problem is still there. Now you're hungover dealing with it. So it's even worse, actually. So we know that's not a solution. Sometimes you just say, to hell with this day. And I've done that plenty of times. But, the grateful and the controlling of your feelings, which boils down to being in control of your thoughts, which dictates what your feelings are, dictates your whole life. And we're doing it all the time, whether you believe it or not. What you're believing and what you believe is who you are. It is what your life is, and you can change it at any minute. And like you said,
and that's the beauty of it, is that you really do have the capacity to, to change. I think it's Jim Rohn. So for me, like on a journey, like a couple of the greats that I started, listening to that it impacted me are, Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn. And there's so many great ones. But, one of the things that he says is, we're not a tree. A tree doesn't have any control of where it's planted. If we don't like our environment, we can change it, so we are a product of our environment, and that we do have the ability to change that. But sometimes I think people struggle with, learning how to change, being so much of a creature of habit that they stay within those bad habits, and being down on yourself. And depression is it's real, like it's real. And there are things that you really do have to be committed to make those positive changes. And it's not easy sometimes, but again, like, knowing that you have, somebody that you can reach out to, somebody that's going to put a smile on your face, maybe somebody's going to make you laugh so hard you pee your pants, whatever it is. But, having somebody is, important. But, also, having yourself, like, what you say to yourself matters.
Well, and I was just going to say that being your own cheerleader, like sometimes is what you have to do. Sometimes you have to cheer yourself up, and we were literally cheerleaders. So like this kind of is our thing a little bit because of that. But I've realized that, thank God, I know how to just cheer myself up sometimes, because it's like, sometimes I just need to get myself out of it, like, so sometimes when you're having a bad day and then you see someone like super freaking happy, like, oh, I just closed $1 million deal, and you're like, I just lost $1 million deal. It's like, we're on two different levels, so much so, right? But like, sometimes I just have to say, hey, sometimes when a door closes, another one will open. Like, whatever it takes for you in your own mind to tell yourself, and being other people's cheerleader is a huge thing for me. Like, I love believing in other people. Nothing, and that comes from,
that's what it takes for other people that don't believe in themselves, that they need somebody else to believe in them. I mean, smiles are contagious. You never know what a positive thought to somebody, or sharing a smile, or picking somebody else up is going to do for them in their life, and impact them. And in turn, like, they may be like, oh my gosh, and then pass it along and do it to the next person.
Oh my gosh, okay, I have to give you the gift. Don't get too excited. It's from CVS, but it's the thought that counts. So it just totally made me think of you. It's heavy. Don't drop it. It's breakable. The backside has something like this. Just look at one side.
This is a surprise. This is not.
See, that's so you. That is a positive affirmation.
You guys, I got a unicorn. And it says, it is divine. A divine unicorn that's sparkly and has a rainbow. That's so pretty. Thank you.
I loved it so much that I got myself one.
Cheers to unicorns. But one of the things I love about this is, absolutely, it made me
just totally
smile. And you have to be a unicorn. We're all unique. It's one of the things that, like, God gave us, is the ability to be ourselves, right? It was what sets us apart from everybody else. To all of those, people who are in real estate and real estate related industries right now, whether it's title, home warranty, lending, there are so many different aspects of real estate. I know that, last year was a very, weird year. And, going back to what we said earlier about, comparison being the thief of all joy, I really want you guys to kind of, take a step back and see what you do have, right? So maybe you do have some deals in the pipeline, or maybe you do have clients that you're taking care of, and families that you're helping, make that move that they didn't think was possible. But maybe it's not enough when you're comparing it to a person, next to you. But what you don't know is, you don't know how many friends, families, fear, how long they've been doing it, what they're doing. All you're in control of is what you're doing. That's so right. Just being able to kind of, look at that and say, okay, well, there are things that I could have done better, or I did my best. And at the end of the day, if you did your best, like that's all you can do. Like maybe reach out to somebody like a coach or a mentor and say, okay, these are the things that I'm doing, what could I do better?
I think when you start your day out positive, you have a lot more clarity. I think when you've been in real estate and you're struggling for a deal, you've got to reset yourself, and you've got to say, okay, I'm forgetting about all of that, and I'm going to believe in abundance, right?
Yeah, because the abundance mindset.
When you have abundance in your mind, and okay, so it's like, okay, well, I'm behind on my mortgage, and I'm behind on my car note, and I have no deals in the pipe. How do you expect me to think abundant? Well, how would you behave right now if you had $1 million in the bank? And would you be different? Would you be happier? Then be happy now, because you're not going to get it until you believe it. It just doesn't work that way. Being mad.
Yeah, what is it? Yeah, it's whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Again,
that's
the mind is a power. That's
right?
Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill.
But it is, the mind is it's a powerful.
Okay, now that we're on to the quotes. One of my favorite is, tough times don't last, tough people do.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And it's just like, sometimes you just need to let that tough time just pass. And you're tougher than that, right? And so cheerlead yourself, call your friend, meditate, take some deep breaths, whatever you got to do that works for you, but just get past it. If you want to drink, sometimes we've done that. Whatever it takes, but let that pass. There is no traffic jam on the extra mile. I love that one, because I've gotten deal after deal from just being that extra mile person. The person that calls after I know that they had to go to the doctor and they were stressed out about it and freaked out about it, and just ask them are you okay? And if they're not okay, I'm prepared to be like, hey, whatever, I'm here for you, whatever. It's just that extra mile, whether it's putting ant killer out on a listing or, I don't know. We know what it is. Everybody, you can find a place to do it for everyone. And that's a Zig Ziglar quote. And it was just like, man, that guy's kind of old, but his stuff still rings true.
Even while that's a Zig Ziglar quote, he has so many good ones. In being a student of Buffini and what they teach and how you have really embraced that in real estate. We are relational. We work by referral, and one of the things that we do is we truly care about our clients and being the best. But having that level of care if somebody is sick or they're having a bad day, or they need a little extra help getting their house prepared because they can't do it, stepping up to do it. And Joe Nigo calls it his unexpected extras, like going that extra mile, putting in the extra effort, and being that person that maybe somebody else, maybe it's not that they wouldn't do it, but didn't even think of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like some of these people, it's like they have it all together. Like once in a while you get an easy deal, and it's like, gosh, I have to find something to go the extra mile on. It's like, oh, you have a cat? Thank God. I can't wait to get their cat a collar and some catnip. You just have to find what speaks to people, and they never forget it. People will forget the words that you say, but they never forget how you make them feel. And that is the industry that we're in, that we're truly, truly in, is making people feel whatever it is that will make them feel that everything is right, that you're the right person, that house is the right house. They should know, but sometimes they just need a cheerleader.
But even that, it's about how you make people feel. And back to the whole mindset of things is being mindful of how you're making people feel and what you're saying to them and how it's, impacting them, if it's in a negative or a positive way. And I think that we should all try and, influence other people to be, a positive and see the best in themselves. And, knowing that, again, to have that mental pause, if somebody does something or says something, to say, okay, here's how I'm going to react, right? Before just reacting and spilling negativity everywhere, right?
Well, and it's funny that we're talking about this, because Julio and I, my husband, and we're a husband and wife real estate team, and he is nothing like me. He's the complete opposite of me. has to work a little harder on his face not to look mad all the time. And I was really worried, like when he got into real estate, like, God, are people gonna like him? Like he just seems so, I don't know, scary, to the normal person. And he has found his way. It's not the same way as mine. He has his own way. And maybe he needs to be a guest on your show because, he has dealt with a lot of, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough, being kind of in my shadow sometimes, or, whatever the case may be. And it's like, he has fought himself out too. And we all have to start somewhere. And, even when you're 17 years in and you have some things that just totally suck the wind out of your sail, you have to find a way. And it all starts with a new day some days, but every day has to be you deciding that you're going to be positive. And
not all days are going to be great, right?
And that's okay.
And that is okay.
That would be boring.
Like the book says, like we are conditioned to think that it's not okay for a day to suck or for something bad to happen to us to suck. But that's just not the truth. Sometimes it happens. It's just more about how we react and being mindful of that and being able to, look for the positive, to be able to stay positive so we can stay focused on what our ultimate goals are. To be able to move forward.
It's funny. I think about one of the questions that you ask agents when you hire them, and that is, why do you want to be a real estate agent? Like, duh, that's a great question. Like,
everybody has a different one, yeah.
And I thought back to, why did I want to do it? And it's like, I kind of always knew that I loved people, and I really just do love people. Like, I am a people person, and I love helping people. And that is really what we do. We're here to help them. We don't make them buy houses. We can't decide what house they're going to buy. Like, that's on them. We're here to facilitate the process, be their cheerleader, and make sure they're well represented, and that is what we offer. We're here to be by their side and look out for their best interests and believe in them, and help them. And that is what this is, and if you're not like happy about doing that, or like if you just want to make money, or if you want to look cool and make videos, like, I don't know what people say, but that is what this really is. We're really
well. I mean, if you don't mind your mindset, right, it will be very apparent. So for those of you who are in real estate and you are having a bad day, and then you go on a listing appointment or go on a showing or whatever it is, and you're in a bad mood, I mean, or you're down on the market or down on, whatever, it's definitely transparent, and that's reflecting back on your client. So you definitely want to make sure that you are trying to, do the right things, have good habits, start off with a good routine, have your positivity cap on before you are, meeting with somebody, because ultimately, people want to do business with, happy and positive
people that they like. People want to do businesses with people that they like and people that they trust.
Yeah.
If you don't display those two things in some form or fashion, then it reminds me of this quote we were just talking about.
Well, I was going to say, because we are about to wrap it up. It is 6:50 to 6:59. So I have a couple of questions that I'm going to ask you. And you already jumped ahead a couple of times, but all of them, it is.
I have others.
What is your favorite quote that has impacted your life in a positive way?
That would definitely be the old cliche, if you can believe it, you can achieve it, which my dad told me from childhood. And it's part of the reason that, I talk about being a cheerleader for these people, is because they don't always believe it. You don't know that, you're thinking, oh, they are cheap, or, oh, they're this, or, oh, they're, not realistic about the market. No, sometimes they just don't believe in themselves. And if you've done all you can to explain and teach, and they trust you and they like you, you'll have a deal in no time flat. So it's about helping other people believe so that they can achieve, but also mostly important is yourself.
All right. What is the most important piece of advice that you've been given that has impacted you that you would share with others?
Okay, I thought about that. And my mom, when I was trying out for freshman cheerleader, and I sucked. I mean, I was terrible. I didn't make it the year before as well. Like, I was really good at dancing. I didn't have a lot of those skills. And I was telling my mom how much I wanted to be a cheerleader and how much better all these other girls are. They can tumble, they can do backflips. And my mom said, Pumpkin, I don't want you to worry about what them girls can do. You just worry about yourself. And that is it, man. That is it right there. Don't worry about everybody else. Worry about yourself, you know, and like you said, put the gas mask on yourself first.
The oxygen mask.
The oxygen mask.
What are we at the dentist?
But yeah, like I do like the gas because it just makes it a lot less painful. Which
happy.
Yeah, way happier. But yeah, I mean that's it. That's the quote. You know, don't worry about.
And I know that
else.
we've mentioned a few books today, but what is the one book that you've liked the most that you would recommend to others?
I truly love. Really, the first book that truly inspired me, which was a godsend, was From the Poorhouse to the Penthouse. And I absolutely give all the credit. That book is amazing.
What's one takeaway from that book on why it was so amazing, on how it impacted you, that you would share on somebody that's thinking about maybe getting that book?
It just made me realize that we really are the captain of our own ship. And that whether you realize it or not, you're believing something. And the sooner you take hold of your beliefs and have confidence in yourself and make yourself all the way through believe whatever it is that you want and write it down. A lot of it is writing it down. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to lose 30 pounds and not do, I'm just going to say it right now and that's it. Like, no, it doesn't happen that way. And I think we all know it, but that book really structured my beliefs, my thoughts, to help me help myself. And if we're not helping ourselves, no one else can. You know, they can't work out for you. You have to do your own workout.
Yeah.
Same with your mind. You know, you have to work out your mind, and your mind has to be strong in all the ways it needs to be strong for you to be who you want to be. Otherwise, you're going to be something. You know, it could be what the world is making you think, or who knows, like what your dead aunt told you one day on a weekend at a picnic. I mean, you've got to learn how to let go of things and hold on to things, and that's all on you.
Yeah, what to care about and what is unimportant in life. All right, you guys. Well, I hope that you guys have a fantastic rest of your Monday. I hope you have a wonderful week. I know that it is raining outside, but with staying positive, the grass needs the rain and it's not going to last too long. So there's some positive out of that too. And like Tanya said, just bring your own sunshine.
No matter the weather, always bring your own sunshine.
All right. Well, we will see you again next Monday. And we have a lot of different guests, like I said in the original description, from around the nation. So I can't wait to hear from them, what's going on in their world, and the things that they have dealt with in order to keep a positive mindset. So take it easy. Until next time. Bye.